G'day gamers, Aussie Wargamer here in Moree, Australia, and welcome to my channel. On this episode, I'm going to talk about my first ever Age of Sigmar tournament I attended in Brisbane last weekend, and 6 things I learned while I was there. So let's get to it, eh? So the first thing I learned was that 5 games in 2 days is really tiring. You're using so much mental energy over the course of the weekend, trying to get all your rules right, remembering everything, working out tactics, even interacting with your opponents can be tiring. So be prepared for that. The next thing's pretty obvious, but it was very clear that those who did well knew their lists in and out. They knew what they could do with them, how they worked best, and against who. I was only able to get 1 game in with my list before the tournament, so I was still working out how it played, and that made things a lot harder. One of the things I didn't do well was deployment, and that really hurt me. And that brings me to my third point, which is deployment seems to be really important in Age of Sigmar, perhaps even more important than choosing that first turn. I ran a 2-drop list and dropped in 2, so I always chose who went first, but my opponent got to deploy based on what I had done. And in a couple of games, it was a major disadvantage. I'd set up my flanking unit to grab backfield objectives, so my opponents would just put something down to be in my way. As a side note, I was running the 1st cohort battalion, and I just don't think it's worth the 160 points it costs. But yeah, deployment is really important. Number 4 is don't expect to get in all 5 battle rounds for each of your games. It only happened once in my 5 games, with 2 ending at the end of the 4th because of time, and the other 2 ending in the 3rd because I lost them pretty badly. But it doesn't help when you're pushing around 40 skeletons or 50 bloodletters or a whole bunch of clan rats or whatever it is. If you've got an army that does really well in later turns, make sure you play fast. My 5th thing is something I was already aware of, but it was confirmed at Briscon, in that the level of hobby in Age of Sigmar is absolutely nuts. Compared to all the other games on display, the AOS hobby are absolutely they had the best painted, the best converted, the most creative armies there. Choosing something for people's choice was so hard. There were so many good armies there. So well done, all you Age of Sigmar hobbyists that make the game look so good. Following on from that, my final lesson was that if you're going to use the display board, make it as small as possible. I took a 2-foot by 2-foot board, and it was just so impractical and annoying. There wasn't enough space for me to put it anywhere, and it was just constantly shifting models on and off it. It was just a pain. It was a real hassle. There were some fantastic display boards out there that used space really well, but mine was not one of them. Well, they were the 6 lessons I learnt from the Brisvegas Open at Briscon this past weekend. Well, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe if you want to hear more of me voice. Catch us later.